Hello and welcome to The Last Word. As the government considers ways of conserving fuel, we ask what are sensible and what are silly ways of doing this. That's with the former Petroleum Secretary Raghav Saran Pandey, the managing editor of the Financial Express Sunil Jain, the Bombay correspondent of the Financial Times James Crabtree, and the former chairman of Shell India Vikram Mehta. Vikram Mehta, let's start with the proposal that hit the front pages this morning and was initially, it was thought, supported by Veerappa Moily before it was shot down by the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister. The idea to shut petrol pumps at night as a way of conserving fuel consumption. Did this make sense at any level at all, or was it always an unthought out knee-jerk response?
Well, I think, to be fair to the Minister, this may have just been one of the ideas floated at a meeting, but I don't think it was ever taken too seriously. In 1991-92, the government did actually close retail outlets from 6 a.m., I think 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., and that idea didn't work. It didn't conserve demand or consumption, it merely postponed it. The idea is not a good idea. It will inconvenience consumers, it will make administration of the retail network that much more complicated and difficult, and it certainly does little to conserve consumption. So I don't think this idea was ever seriously considered. It must have been something that was floated and then leaked to the press, and the press seemed to have made a bit of it. So I don't think you should go into it in too much detail.
James Crabtree, it may not have been suggested as a serious idea, but certainly it was taken as a serious proposal by the BBC because it was part of their reportage of India. Now, what image and impression of India do you think it would have sent out?
I think a pretty bad impression, to be honest, Karen. I mean, the bigger problem here is that India is in the grips of a quite profound moment of economic unease, and when ideas like this are floated, it alarms investors, both Indian investors and foreign investors, and it makes it look as if the government doesn't really know what it's doing. This was true when they had a problem with saying they would introduce capital controls a couple of weeks ago, and again it's just one more further example which makes it look a little bit as if the government is floundering around in the face of a crisis.
Now, Sunil Jain, if the object is to cut fuel consumption, then surely it makes sense to raise the price of diesel, to raise the price of LPG, and perhaps raise both very substantially, but also to permit companies to freely raise the price of petrol without having to wait 2 or 3 weeks between each hike. Isn't that what the government should be doing?
Absolutely. You know, in fact, Karan, in January when the government decided that they were going to start increasing diesel prices, so they increased the price of 20% of diesel consumption almost immediately, and for the rest there was this 45 to 50 paisa hike per month. So if you look at what the under recoveries were on the 1st of January for all fuels, it's about 380 crore rupees per day. So this came down to about 240 by about May or June. Now we are back to 383. So actually we are back to where we were in January. So we're in deep trouble. And just one quick number, if you're talking about 380 crore worth of under recoveries every day, the budget of India, P. Chidambaram's budget, has an allocation of 180 crore rupees. The rest has to come from ONGC and IOC.
Absolutely.
So if we don't do something very quickly, these companies will shut down, and whether we like it or not, we will have petrol rationing in the country.
Mr. Pandey, as a former Petroleum Secretary, tell me, when diesel and LPG prices are raised substantially, does it have a marked effect on consumption, or is it only a blip that over a period of time disappears?
Well, to a great extent, demand is inelastic in this sector. But yes, if you raise the prices very substantially, there will be some impact on demand. And that kind of raise, I don't think economically or politically it's going to be feasible. It's true that in January, government did take some measures. Petrol prices were totally decontrolled, and about diesel, a decision was taken that about 45 to 50 paisa increase per month will take place. In between, the government has increased even by bigger amount. Today also, if you really see, the pressure is not only because of the high crude prices, but because of the massive devaluation of the rupee, which has come about in a very short time.
Absolutely.
And with 1 rupee parity increase, well, it impacts on an annual basis about 8,000 crore.
Absolutely.
And that is something very huge. In January it was about 54, 55.
Can I stop you there?
Now it is